there, this is TheAnYPony, and welcome to my review of Sleepless in Ponyville. When this episode started, my initial thoughts were, what? Another CMC episode already? But while I kept on watching, slowly I realized this is not an ordinary CMC episode. This is actually the very first Scootaloo episode. And it's about time. Apple Bloom already had got a fair share of spotlight as early as the first season. And even so, Sweetie Belle only got one episode starring her as an individual, and she had to share the spotlight with Rarity. We got to know her quite well. Her passion to help, her admiration for Rarity, and we even met her parents. Scootaloo, on the other, who've only appeared as part of the hyperactive collective known as the Cutie Mark Crusaders until now. Sure, she got her moments to shine, but they were quite rare. All we knew about her was rather basic. She's athletic, she's stubborn, she is the wildest of the trio, she likes to be the center of attention, and, quite fitting with the before mentioned character features, Rainbow Dash is her idol. There wasn't much more we know about her background, or about her as a character. So let's sit back and have a look at Scootaloo's first time on her own. Well, kind of. Apple Bloom and Sweetie Belle are there as well, but only as supportive characters. And they really get to shine in this function. Their presence in the story feels natural, they can show off their established relationships with their big sisters in a subtle way. And these relationships form a nice contrast to Scootaloo's and Rainbow's more casual way to act around each other. But enough of the other ponies. This is Scootaloo's episode, so let's talk about her. Scootaloo's initial goal for this episode is to use a camping trip with her two co-crusaders, their big sisters and Rainbow Dash, to get close to the latter and eventually getting RD to take Scootaloo under her wing and maybe even become kind of her big sister. To reach this goal, Scoots acts as tough as she can to impress RD. And the filly actually seems to succeed in her attempts. At least she gets attention and acknowledgement by her idol. Even so, her interaction stays on a very superficial and buddy-like level. Scootaloo is very happy about this at first, but one scary campfire story later, the situation turns against her. While Apple Bloom and Sweetie Belle can find comfort in their sister's company, Scoots is afraid of stopping playing the tough and by this losing RD's affection. So it's time for Nightmare on Main Street. What? The title of this episode is also a pun on a movie title. So I'm not allowed to do this? Anyways. Oh, hello, random glance of Luna. And goodbye, I guess.
Here you go!
After this, Scootaloo does not feel like sleeping for the rest of the night and... Whoa, welcome back, gross 90s cartoons. But the young filly handles the sleep devastation pretty well. She gets not eaten by an alligator and pulled some pretty amazing stunts for a Pegasus who can't even really fly. Did I mention I love rental breakdown episodes? By the way, I love how Scoot's voice gets all high-pitched and less scratchy in the course of the episode.
Nothing, I just thought I heard something.
She sounds more and more like a girl, and I mean this in an absolutely positive way. I do not dislike her usual tomboyish tone, but she reminds me a bit of Bart Simpson. In the very unlikely cause you don't know, Bart Simpson is also voiced by a woman, Nancy Cartwright, who makes a scratchy voice to sound like a boy.
I said, well, hi, I'm Bart Simpson. What's happening, man? The guy's like, ah!
I enjoy hearing this shift of Scootaloo's voice when she is scared, and not because I think being scared is girly, so she has to sound girly when she is afraid. No. Letting the voice actor Madeleine Peters using a more natural voice for Scootaloo during her breakdown emphasizes the fact that Scoot's usual spunky behavior is not her true self, or in other words, there is more to her than just the wild, action-hungry tomboy. This behavior is actually part of the filly wanting to be more like Rainbow Dash, who also tends to talk in this boyish tone. And here comes my favorite scene of the whole episode.
Here, branches, branches, branches.
Comedic gold.
It's all I could find, because, there aren't that many trees around here.
Classic. Seriously, after seeing this scene, Scootaloo turned from the crusader who is just there and I haven't been able to make up my mind about, to my personal favorite. Of course, Scootaloo is less than thrilled to hear another scary campfire story. So she starts one pathetic attempt to avoid it for this evening. A problem I have with this scene is that Applejack is usually relatively sensible and already recognized that something is wrong with Scootaloo earlier that day. But AJ does not realize that the filly is afraid of another scary story. Neither do her two best friends. Okay, that Rarity and Rainbow do not get that something's up does not surprise me. After all, they tend to be kind of self-centered most of the time. But well, since Scootaloo always tries to cover up her fear and acts all super confident, I guess the other ponies are supposed to be suspicious but not able to understand why Scoots is acting so weird. Talking about weird, wasn't Sweetiebelle supposed to be the talented singer of the group?
99 buckets of votes on the wall! 99 buckets of votes! Take one down, pass it around, you got 81 buckets of votes on the wall!
Anyways, Scootaloo finds herself soon without any way to avoid falling asleep anymore, and we are back in Nightmare Land. This time starring the subject of RD's new scary story, the Headless Horse. And Princess Luna? What is she doing there?
I am the princess of the night. Thus it is my duty to come into your dreams.
Really? Well, that's new. And I would say, behold the incoming fan fiction! What is in fact a legitimate warning, as you know if you have been around DeviantArts in the days after the episode aired. If there haven't already been fan fiction that imputes Luna with this very ability. Intentional or coincident? I have no idea. But I read Those Blue Wings by Chernobog quite recently, and it's more or less the same setting. Some pony, not telling who because of no spoilers and stuff, has a real life problem, and Luna finds out about it by checking this pony's dreams. And I'm really glad that my favorite princess finally got something more interesting to do during the night than playing video games all the time. So Luna tells Scootaloo that her nightmares actually are so powerful because of her real life fears. In other words, her being afraid of losing Rainbow Days affection if RD finds out about the real, not so tough Scootaloo that's hidden behind the tomboy we knew until now. And with the warning that Scootaloo has to face her fears, the dream ends and Scootaloo wakes up. Still confused by the dream, the lack of sleep, and her being a scared filly, she believes to hear the Headless Horse and in panic flees into the woods. Well, panic-fueled nocturnal races have a tendency of ending bad, being actually chased by a Headless Horse or not. And in Scootaloo's case, it's kind of fatal. She falls off a cliff into a river leading straight to a waterfall, and she is gone. At least we got to know her a bit better before she left, so we can remember her as an actual character with facets. Nah, of course she gets rescued, and by none other than RD herself. Even so, I have to wonder how she managed to realize Scootaloo's disappearance, being sound asleep wearing earplugs and all. I guess her element of loyalty sense was tingling? Now it is time for Scootaloo to come clear with her idol and admit to Rainbow Dash not only that she was scared like hell by the campfire stories, but also that she was acting tough all the times because she hopes for Rainbow Dash to become her big sister. Wow, look at RD's face when the realization strikes her how strongly Scoots actually feels about her. And I enjoy how subtle this episode handles this moment by just switching back to Scootaloo. Sure, we get some less subtle images in the grand finale, but that's totally fine with me. Because for those of us who prefer a subtle approach, there is this first scene between those two in the middle of the night. And those who prefer the message rainbow colored and with an extra dose of symbolism, well, there is also this other scene. And the final dream sequence, which are still both nice to watch nonetheless. Yeah, you may have recognized I was not my usual nitpicky self today, and there is actually a simple explanation for this. I really do love this episode. It has a well thought out story that is neither too long nor too short for the given time window it takes place in. It shows some real character development, and thanks to the rather small cast, even the supportive characters get their moments. There's a good strong lesson in the end that feels natural in its presentation. Something no previous episode of the third season managed to pull off. And it's all topped off by a bunch of hilarious scenes, creepy dream sequence, and stunning visuals. Well, okay, there were no particularly stunning visuals, but the overall animation throughout the whole episode was high-end. After all this praising, it's not hard to guess. Sleepless in Ponyville is my favorite episode of the third season so far. I am curious if the next episode, Wonderbolt Academy, will be able to keep up. Let's find out together. This is the ANYPony saying, oh wait, haven't used up my nitpicking points yet. Okay, the title. The title is stupid. It feels like a reference to Sleepless and Scootaloo, but there is no connection between this episode and a comedy romance. And the title on its own doesn't make any sense either, because they are not in Ponyville, but in the woods near Ponyville. Whew, made it in time. See you soon.